Deriving the left side, we have to use the power rule. This is x over y to the 1/2. So this is going to get a little ugly, but that's 1/2 x over y to the negative 1/2 power. And we need to multiply that by the derivative of what's inside of the square root. Well, the derivative of what's inside the square root, we got to use the quotient rule. That's x over, so we have to derive this, x over y. That's inside that square root. So to derive x over y, we do low d high. So that's y times the derivative of the top, 1, minus high d low. That's x times the derivative of the bottom. What's a dy dx? And that's all over low squared. Well, that's y squared. Okay. That's the derivative of the left-hand side. On the right, we've got to do the product rule. So we have to derive 2xy squared. And deriving this, we'll put the 2x together. So we have to derive the first, that's 2 times y squared, plus 2x times the derivative of y squared, which is 2y times dy dx. So not too bad. A little bit ugly. I think the first thing that I might do here is simplify this negative exponent here. So this really becomes 1 over 2 y over x to the 1/2. That negative just flips it. I might also pull this y squared on the bottom. I'm going to pull that out and make it 1 over y squared here. And now I'm multiplying. So I've got all this stuff being multiplied here. I'm multiplying by y minus x times dy dx. And that's equal to, and over here there's not too much we can do to simplify. 2y squared stays the same, and 2x 2y becomes 4xy dy dx. And now we're stuck with a similar situation to the last problem. We can't solve for dy dx because we've got all this multiplication going on the left side. So we're going to have to distribute so that we can get dy dx all by itself here. So first, but still, we can simplify some things here. First off, this is 1 over 2 x to the 1/2 y squared. What I'm going to do is multiply through. This should be a bracket here, just so they're both brackets. I want to multiply through so I don't have this long denominator here. Okay, well, before we do that, let's simplify it, I guess. We are going to have these three terms right here simplify to the square root of y over 2 root x y squared times y minus x dy dx equals. So this happened because the square root y over x to the 1/2 is really, if you don't like that to the 1/2, that's just to the square root, or that is the square root. So it's really the square root of y over the square root of x. So if you multiply those three fractions together, you get this guy here. And on this side, still the same thing, 2y squared plus 4xy dy dx. So still not super great. Looks a little bit better. Now what I'm going to do, just simplify it down a little bit further. I don't want to deal with a fraction on this side, so I'm going to multiply everything by 2 root xy squared. So I'm going to multiply this entire equation by 2 root xy squared. And what that's going to leave me with is root y times y minus x dy dx. So that's multiplying the left side by 2 root xy squared. It just cancels this out right here. You don't need to distribute it into these brackets here because it's multiplication, so it just cancels this fraction out. And then over here, multiplying by 2 root xy squared is going to give me 4 root xy to the 4th plus 2 and 4 is going to make 8. Root x and x make x to the 3/2, and y squared and y make y cubed, and that dy dx is still there. Now I can distribute in this root y, and that becomes y to the 3/2 minus x root y dy dx, and that still equals this whole left side. So I kind of regret doing this problem. It's a lot of work. I'm very upset about it. It's lunchtime. I want to go eat, but I told myself I'm going to finish this problem first. So let's go ahead and do this. I can get all the dy dx's on one side and factor out dy dx. So we're going to have dy dx times. Now, when I move this 8x to the 3/2 y cubed over to the left side, we're going to get negative 8x to the 3/2 times y cubed. And that's still minus this dy dx term here, x root y. And that's going to equal, over here we are going to have 4 root x y to the 4th minus y to the 3/2. Whew! But now we're basically done. We are going to divide by this huge set of parentheses on the left side, and we'll have dy dx equals some weird ugly fraction. That's okay. At least dy dx is by itself and we're all done. So dy dx is equal to 4 root x y to the 4th minus y to the 3 halves all over negative 8x to the 3 halves y cubed minus x root y.